What's up, guys? It is Sam here, and I wanted to go over my INBODY results here. This is a scan. You know the scans that you hold like this, and it shoots a signal down your arm and through your arm and to this arm. So they're not extremely accurate, but there's something called the INBODY. By the way, there's NutriShop in Fitchburg out here. It's free. The guys are awesome there. The owner's freaking Scott. It's super cool, dude. And there's one where you stand on and you hold something at the same time. So not only could you do from one leg to the other leg, but you could do from one arm to the other arm, or you could do from the left arm to the right leg and from the right leg to the left arm. Because you're just going to be connecting those two spots and doing the analysis that way. And the INBODY gives you a breakdown on body parts, so left, right, body part, left, right arm and leg, as well as a bunch of other interesting information that I wanted to go over. But before I dive into the results on this, I wanted to talk about what is going on. So for the month of June, I'm cutting, and there's three main factors that I play around with to adjust my body composition. And the first you can more than likely guess is diet. Diet is the foundational piece, in my opinion, as I spit all over myself. And the next being activity level, which I break into two parts. That's cardio and that's exercise. The third is the drugs. Or the compounds. By the way, if you want to follow along with this journey, make sure you press that subscribe button. So I'm cutting for the month of June, potentially into July as well. Today is June 23rd. So I've changed my diet, just making little tweaks every week. Say just from going from a whole milk to a 2% to a 1%. Each change, sequence there, maybe you drop a few calories, right? And if I have 2 cups of milk a day, and if I go from 150 calories to 120 calories per cup, and I have 2 cups, that's 60 calories, right? Not that much, but you also don't need a tremendous amount, because you can make, say, 5 or 6 of those changes at, say 50 calories each, and you make 5 of them, there's 250 calories. And if you increase your activity level at the same time, you can offset that. But a lot of the times, some of these changes like dropping carbs so drastically or other things, and maybe it's closer to 600-700 calories or 1,000 calories. Where we got on here, my visceral fat has gone down, which would be the fat around my organs, and in my midsection. There was an interesting, where is this? So I started the month at 231 pounds. 231. I did not do an INBODY at the beginning of the month, so I don't have the data from that. But I do have the data from 6/12. So it's been 11 days so far since I've done the last scan. And I wanted to just go through the results and the differences between these. So we'll start with the foundation of where I was on 6/12. So as you can see, it just breaks down the information right across the top here. I weighed in at 223.6 pounds back on 6/12, and currently I am 221.9 pounds. So I've dropped 1.7 pounds in the past 11 days. And what that breaks down to, if I dive into the numbers here, so my body fat mass went from 23.4 to 22.7. So I've lost 0.7 pounds of fat, and the actual skeletal muscle mass, which is basically all your ligaments, your bones, as well as your muscle mass, went from 116 pounds to 115.7. So if you look at those two, or that ratio, right? Like the amount of muscle lost versus the amount of fat lost, you always want that to be less than 1. Now, what the fuck does that mean, Sam? Like, that doesn't make any sense. We don't talk about numbers like you do. Okay, I'm sorry. But if you take the amount of muscle you lost, say if you lost 3 pounds of muscle and you lost 2 pounds of fat, then your total, the ratio of muscle to fat is 1.5, which is greater than 1. So what do I want, or a lot of people want, is a ratio less than 1. Now, what would that mean in reality is that the amount of muscle loss is less than the amount of fat loss, or conversely, that the amount of fat loss is greater than the amount of muscle loss. So let's take my numbers. So we've got the muscle, so this is going to be the numerator, is 116, the SMM right here, which is the skeletal muscle mass, is 116 minus, for today's, and as you can see, but also as a caveat here too, I actually think these numbers are greater than this, because last time I went around 8 o'clock in the evening, very depleted. I hadn't eaten in several hours at that point. I had finished up cardio and I had finished up training. So I actually think that the numbers are greater, because the owner, Scott, was telling me that if I have food in my stomach, it actually more than likely says that that food is fat. So I had just eaten a meal before I went to NutriShop to do this INBODY scan. So that meal was potentially read as fat. I'd eaten the meal probably 20 minutes, maybe 30 minutes beforehand. So that was probably, these numbers could actually be greater than this, because when I went today, I went at about 2:30, and this time I went at about 8:30. So the scan at the end of the month, I'll try to do closer to the same time I did this first one to get a more accurate representation. Anyways, to get back to the ratio, today's SMM, which is the skeletal muscle mass again, is right here. So that's 115.7. 115.7, so it's 0.3. Now, how much body fat do we lose? If we look here, we've got 123.4 versus 22.4 pounds. Let's say this one more time. 23.4 pounds. Right there. That's my body fat. 23.4 pounds. And right here is 22.7. So we have a 0.7 pounds. Now getting back into that ratio. That's lower than 1, right? Because we have 0.3 of muscle lost and 0.7 of fat loss. So if you take 0.3 divided by 0.7, that's 0.42 or 0.43 basically. And that is good. That means we're losing fat at a much more rapid rate than we're losing muscle. Almost 2 to 1 there. So that is definitely a good, or more than a 2 to 1, I'm sorry. More than 2 to 1. The body fat percentage went from 10.5% to 10.1%. So by the end of the month, I will probably be under 10%. The left and the right arm, it actually looks like my left arm, it says, which is kind of interesting, probably some other error. My left arm actually increased in terms of the amount of muscle in there. You guys can let me know. It does seem kind of big. I do notice some more of the striations. Also, so you have your abs, and then you have your obliques. And the edge of your abs versus your obliques, that tends to be fat. So I've noticed that dropping drastically over this past week. So that was kind of interesting to see that it played out on the results here. Also, they give you a rating for your left arm, your right arm, and your trunk, which is your midsection, chest and stomach and back. Trunk, and then your left and right leg. for your body fat, and then they give you the range for what is kind of normal. And obviously, so I don't compare myself to the normal because fucking abnormal. Like, who the fuck goes to the gym as much as I do? Anyways, the area that has the most amount of fat, which kind of makes sense because it's the biggest area, is my midsection. So at first I was kind of in the normal range, which if you want to go check out the videos on the physique updates, you can see I have a decent amount of fat in my lower back, and there's a layer of fat over my abs. So that went down the most. My arms did not change too much in size if I look at the difference between these. So let me just go over the actual results. So they call it the segmental fat analysis, and the arms here didn't change that much, but the trunk went from, and these are percentages, went from 123.3% to 118.8%, and I think that's relative to the average male who's 34 years old, or just maybe the average male. I don't know if they break it down to the height or the age group or not. I don't know if they have the data for that, but that's good to at least going, even if it's not 100% accurate in terms of the benchmark or the relative population to be compared to. Another interesting thing to look at is the basal metabolic rate, and what that is trying to estimate is how many calories somebody needs who's my height and my weight and my size, based on the amount of muscle and fat and everything I have. So my basal metabolic rate barely changed. It decreased by 10 calories. So I'm at about 2,325 calories right now, which is kind of interesting, because I don't have to do anything and I'll still burn 2,300 calories per day. And some people's maintenance level is 2,300. So it's just kind of interesting to see that. If you're curious, I'm 6'1.5" approximately. And we still have, about a week left to go in this cut. So now, touching on some of these factors going forward, the cardio is going to be about the same, maybe slight increase there. What I have been doing with the diet is I've actually had about one cheat meal type thing once or so. I think there was a week where I had at least 2 cheats. It's probably been at least 1 week where I had 2 cheats. And this past week, this is not going to be the case. I might have a little bit of wine, so there's some carbohydrates there. But other than that, I'm not going to be doing anything to see where I will be going in this process. If you guys have any questions about what I'm doing or any of these results, let me know down below in the comments. I'm super curious to hear, or reach out to me on Instagram. Link is in the description. If you want to support the channel, share this video with somebody. I appreciate it. Peace.